Welcome to another episode of Just Cuz, the podcast where two cousins talk about things they love.
Just cuz. And today we are talking Dune 2, heralded as the greatest sci-fi movie of a generation. Does it hold up?
I mean, we will definitely talk about if it is the greatest sci-fi movie of this generation, which I don't necessarily think is true, but I loved this movie so much. Sasha, what did you think of it?
It was absolutely incredible. I'm gonna be honest, when I saw the first Dune, I really liked it, but since I knew that it was part one of something that wasn't going to be fulfilled for a while because it came out right at the tail end of a pandemic, I was like, I'm gonna put this out of my mind. I'm not gonna think about it because I can't wait for that long thinking about it and waiting for Dune. So I'm pretty sure I purged it from my brain because I remembered some visuals, but I remembered nothing of the story.
Honestly,
so
I love our two takes on the Dune franchise because I liked the first movie enough. Honestly, I was more confused by it than anything. And for that reason, since the release of the first movie, I've read the book. I love it. I'm a Dune stan now. So that perspective on this sequel and your perspective on the sequel, I cannot wait to talk about it.
Definitely. I mean, I rewatched the first one literally right before, because I planned, I timed things wrong, and so I had to watch the very end of Dune on my phone while sitting in the theater watching previews for Dune 2. I had to watch the last 5 minutes there, and I was like, I timed this really poorly.
Honestly, that might be timing it just perfectly. Because that way, there was no.
I did get them both in.
There was no moment that you weren't away from Dune, just right from
I was
screen
thinking
to screen.
about it all the time. Exactly.
Was that too much watching Dune Part 1 before, or is it?
No.
Okay, that's definitely something I want to do
not.
when Part 2 is released on DVD. I could see myself just taking a day and watching Dune, the epic.
It was really fulfilling watching it both, because watching just part one, like I've said before, it doesn't feel like it's finished. It feels like half a movie because you're like, okay, I've been seeing Zendaya all this time and all the marketing had Zendaya in it way back in 2021, but she has one line in this movie. She doesn't say anything. She's there in the future. We don't know yet.
But I mean, then again, they also do something similar to that in Dune Part 2 with Florence Pugh. So
yes,
it's weird to say that this is Part 2 and the finalization of this, because Dune, we'll talk about all of it, but Dune Messiah is a Part 3 as much to this story as it's the real conclusion, and it'll be 5 or 10 years until we even see that, but I cannot believe that we're even seeing that in the first place. That is confirmed to be happening.
Yeah, well, definitely. You can't just leave. I'm pretty sure the last line of this movie was, "The Holy War has begun."
Yeah.
You can't end a franchise like that. Yeah, that can't be the end and then nothing else forever. Also, this is the biggest movie of the year so far. There have been a lot of flops in theaters right now, and Dune 2 I think is the first movie this year that people have been turning out to. People have been coming in droves. Theaters are sold out. People are seeing this movie, and that's really good return, because the first movie, wasn't it just immediately on Max? It didn't go to theaters.
No,
right?
It went to theaters, but on the same day. And for me in particular, I saw it on HBO the night before I was able to watch it in theaters.
I watched it on HBO the day it came out. I mean, I had no idea it was even in theaters.
Not technically
Why would it be?
For free, but it's basically for free. They're just releasing it
if you pay
out.
for the subscription. Yeah. but it was partly because we were in the pandemic at that point and people weren't going to theaters.
But
and
I
think it's
if for some reason Dune was still able to be successful at the box office, and I don't know how that's possible, because Denis Villeneuve's movies, for as masterful as they all are, he's never really made a box office hit until he started making Dune.
I mean, I can tell you exactly why. Read the cast list. It has every celebrity you could possibly think of in these two movies. Everyone. Everyone who's big right now, everyone who's been big in the past. It is stacked full of amazing actors and huge celebrities. So, I mean,
I think...
And they also gave him, like... They gave him a black card and said, spend as much money as you want, basically.
Pretty much
because
did.
These movies, they are expensive, but they are worth it. They look freaking gorgeous. Even the first one, there's one moment in the first one of like CGI where you're like, that does not look great. But the rest of it,
which moment is that?
Excellent. It's when Paul's having a vision, and it's a vision of himself in the future in like his white golden armor, and then he opens the thing and it has his blue eyes, and it's just like very obviously CGI.
I've seen people's
I was like, obviously, because they haven't filmed
that
yet.
But I never had any problem with that. Honestly,
it's not a problem. I don't have a problem with it. It's just like that's the one moment in this entire thing where you can tell that something is computer generated. Everything else looks real. It looks like they're on a different planet. It looks like all of these giant spaceships are there. Right. I'm sure lots of the like explosions, I'm sure they used a lot of practical effects. But obviously there's no giant sandworms in real life. There's no spaceships in real life. But these look amazing.
Right. When they used plenty of CGI in this movie.
Sorry. There are spaceships in real life. I didn't mean to say that. Different those kinds of
we don't
sci-fi
have
spaceships.
Ornithopters and giant, globe balls that are really cool to look at.
Yeah.
When it's floating in the heat and the spice. Well, we'll get to that.
That feels like it would be terrible. It's all mirrored and in the desert. And
it was freaking sweet. And I feel we'll get into the story and honestly all the characters and all the actors that did really well. But I even kind of asked you what moment didn't really live up for the CGI for you, just because I had a point of saying this entire movie from start to finish not only looked real, but it just looked flawless. And I think that's the cinematography.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's just the special effects, the practical effects, everything that they did in this movie is top notch. And there are moments where I still don't know how it was possible that it looked that good.
Yeah, 100%. This movie, that what I was talking before was in the first movie.
Yeah.
But this one is
it's flawless.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like, I was sitting there in theater. I saw it in IMAX, and it is one of those movies that you're just like, I'm gonna bite the bullet and go watch this in IMAX and just in this giant theater. And it was so worth it. Like, it filled everything up. It was meant to be seen like that.
I think I even said
movie.
in the last episode, I will drive like over 100 miles to the nearest IMAX theater. I wasn't able to do that because, for the sake of time, I just wanted to watch this movie as soon as possible. But in the coming weeks, I'm going to do that. I'm going to rewatch this in IMAX because I need to. Just the sound of IMAX. The screen's cool, but the sound is something else.
Sound design is such an important part of this movie.
Yes, it is.
Because sound is how they call the worms, and the sound design during the battle sequences is just incredible. There's and it's just important all throughout the movie. And the brilliant original score, I don't know who wrote it. I'm currently looking at it, but
I mean, I know Hans Zimmer did the
did
score behind it, but I'm assuming it was someone specific that wrote the song.
No, I'm talking about Hans Zimmer. Yeah, whatever. The entire score, we've been hearing it for months in the trailers and stuff, but it's amazing. It's so good.
And it's pretty much the same score that was in part 1, and there's a couple different like new leitmotifs for the villains, but it's
I was just gonna say, it is really interesting watching them back to back, because the themes and the through music and the leitmotifs, they carry through like, really, really well. And like the Atreides one is gone for so long in the first part of Dune, and then it comes back at the end, and I'm like, oh damn.
I noticed
okay.
when Gurney was walking forward and the Scottish bagpipes were going, I was like, oh yeah, we're back, Atreides.
Before we go any further, I would like to point out and say there are a lot of people who have been online talking about how there is no people of Middle Eastern descent who are working in, or who worked behind the scenes in this movie as part of the main creative team. And that is a real shame, because what is it, Herbert, whatever his name is,
Frank
the author
Herbert.
of Dune, Frank Herbert, he drew a lot from Middle Eastern cultures for this story, and you can definitely see that in the films, and it's a real shame that they didn't feel that it was necessary to have any Middle Eastern voices in those rooms. I think that
sucks.
Was necessary.
That's definitely seen in the themes of this movie, is the respect for that kind of culture. But yeah, that sucks that it wasn't actually respected in the pay. Yeah.
Well,
anyway,
it's just it's stuff like that needs to be talked about. Even though it's a great movie, it's still something that needs to be talked about.
And also, I think now could be a good time to talk about it. I don't know if it's the best sci-fi of this generation, because Denis Villeneuve made Arrival and Blade Runner
Arrival's
2049.
So good.
Like, Arrival, I think, is the best sci-fi of this generation, hands down. But the argument could be made for Blade Runner,
To just say that obviously not that many critics are saying that. The marketing for this movie is saying that.
Yes.
So take that as
and
you will.
Some hype people,
that's coming directly.
They're jumping on the train,
Sure, but that's stuff that's coming directly from the trailers and the commercials and the billboards and the marketing for this movie. It is a great, fantastic film. But there are thousands of sci-fi films that have come out in our generation, and I'm sure thousands more that will. And does that take away from this movie? No. But does this movie take away from all those other achievements? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So I think it's always hubris to call something the best in a generation, because that's your perspective.
Don't
that's
say
not
that.
Everyone's perspective.
But it's definitely
there's
good.
nothing that's going to be there's nothing that's going to be the best for everyone.
No.
Everyone's different.
That's very
Everyone
subjective.
has their own views. Exactly.
But I mean, should we get into the story? Because I feel like that's the best way to hit all of the beats that, we should be talking about.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's do a quick rundown of the first one. Okay. There's Paul Atreides. There's Mama Jessica. There is
what's the dad's name?
Dad. Leto. Leto Atreides. Yes. And I literally just called him by his actor's name the whole time I was watching the movie.
It's Oscar Isaac.
And then right now, as I was about to say it, I was like, oh wait, they called him Leto. That's his name.
The only way...
I just blocked it out because it makes me think of Jared Leto.
I mean, I feel like it might come up later, but, spoilers for the book. But the only way that I remembered Leto's name is that in the book, Chani and Paul have a kid named Leto.
Oh.
And that
what?
That was a
Oh my god, wait, that's a huge spoiler!
Yeah,
what the hell?
It was a big diversion from the book, and I don't think they're gonna do that because
Wait, in the book?
yeah,
What do you mean that was a big diversion from the book?
in the movie
Oh, they didn't do,
they didn't do that
okay,
at all.
yeah. I was gonna ask you, well, you don't know that yet, but I was gonna ask you, how well does the movies, plural, I guess, hold up to the book? Because you've read the book.
It holds up very, very closely. There's a lot more with what's his name? Tsufir Hawat, the Mentat for the Atreides. Like, he comes back and he's being controlled by the Baron, and what
I have no idea what the words used.
and Gurney, he distrusts Jessica because he thinks she's the one who betrayed the Atreides, and also the daughter, what's her name? Alia, Paul's sister. She isn't just a fetus who's aware. She's born, and as a 1-year-old, she's conscious and, having conversations with people. And we're getting way ahead of ourselves, but she's also the one who kills the Baron in the book.
Whoa, you're spoiling the whole book, man. No, I'm just kidding.
You wanted to know. No. But yeah.
Wow, wait, as a 1-year-old?
Yeah, she's just a little 1-year-old running around. She's got like a knife and she runs up and she's like, "Hey, Grandpa," and then stabs him.
Stop it. That's
honestly
hilarious.
I'm kind of sad
wait,
they didn't do
I
that.
have to read Dune?
Yes, you do.
I think I have to read Dune. Oh my god, that's incredible. Wait, that's a lot. I've seen the size of that book. It's not that big. It must be very dense.
It's so freaking dense. Which is weird because Messiah, of what I've read so far, is not dense at all. And it's much shorter than Dune.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
But they
I
adhere.
have to read Dune.
You're gonna have to
guys.
read Dune.
I have too many books to read.
You're gonna have to read Dune.
Ugh.
Read about that white
Fine.
savior.
Oh god, yeah, that was god. It was so white savory, and they were trying. They were like, "Oh no, we'll have some, we'll have some white furmen. They're not all gonna be black guys. Don't worry.
worry.
We're not gonna have a bunch of brown people bowing to white people like Game of Thrones did." But then they did the exact same shot that Game of Thrones did, and I'm like, guys, stop it.
It was still just like spine tingling from how cool the cinematography was, but it was in the back of my mind of like, ooh.
Oh, it was in the front of my mind because the whole time I was Zendaya. That's what Zendaya is saying the whole movie. She's like, sorry, Chadi, whatever. But Zendaya's character is just the whole movie is like, don't think you're our white savior. We don't fucking need you. And then he's like, I'm absolutely not going to be the white savior. I'm absolutely not going to do it. You guys deserve to rule yourselves. I'm not going to take over and rule you, even though I can. And then that's exactly what he does. I'm like, well, fuck you.
And then he takes some worm blood. And then...
Well, no, he did that. Yeah, he did that before. But no, it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I really, really appreciate the way that they kind of did that with Chani's character. Because another thing that they changed from the book is not just the fact that she has a kid with him, but she's fully supportive and like 100% on board with his destiny
I'm very
and holy
glad
war.
they changed that.
Because I feel like that's... And I remember reading some article from Denis Villeneuve where he was talking about how a lot of people misinterpreted the original novel, that it's not about a white savior and it's about the horrible effects of what a white savior can have and, just the hold religion can have on a person in general.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I got from this film.
Mm-hmm.
I got that Paul was becoming the villain.
Yeah.
He literally, by the end of the film, he becomes the emperor. He becomes the thing that he hated. He does exactly what Luke Skywalker said, I'll never do that.
Right.
And he became the thing that he hated, and he becomes the emperor. And he makes the emperor bow to him and kiss his knee, and he slaughters mercilessly.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter how...
He's so far from his father,
Yeah.
from Leto, who was a man of heart. That's what the emperor says.
Mm-hmm.
He calls him weak, but that's not weakness.
No.
That's why he was strong. But whatever. You guys can tell what kind of person I would be in a fantasy novel.
Strength from the heart, Gryffindor.
Ugh. No. What? I'm sorry. I'm really thrown. No one's ever called me a Gryffindor before.
You were talking about the heart and being good and moral. I couldn't help it.
No, I take it as an insult. How dare you? I'm a Ravenclaw, obviously.
And I'm a Hufflepuff.
You're a Hufflepuff?
I know I am.
I never knew that.
Honestly, I love
that.
This is such a side tangent, but all of my life I've been like, no, I'm a Slytherin. And then, honestly, it's as I've been dating my girlfriend, and she's like, no, you're a Hufflepuff. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know I am.
I feel like your life journey was, you were like, I'm a Hufflepuff all your childhood, and then in high school you're like, I'm gonna be a Slytherin.
Yeah, I'm cool.
And then as soon as you got out of high school, you were like, I'm a Hufflepuff again.
Guys, I'm sorry. I tried. I tried to cosplay.
No, you know what? I love Hufflepuffs. Some of my best friends are Hufflepuffs. I'm just kidding.
But you know who's a Hufflepuff? No,
it's a good thing. Who?
I was trying to think of any character from Dune.
My mom. My mom's a Hufflepuff.
Your mom is a Hufflepuff. No character from Dune is a Hufflepuff. Actually,
I feel like
Stilgar, 100%.
Stilgar. Oh yeah,
that's a good.
No, Jameis.
Oh yeah, Jameis.
Oh wait, no, not a Hufflepuff. No, he's not a Hufflepuff.
He could be.
He's a Ravenclaw. He's a Ravenclaw. No, absolutely not.
But a good transition back into Dune, because Stilgar, he doesn't just make the first act of this movie basically a comedy, but he's just the funniest person on screen. And I just appreciate the lengths that they go to make him funny, but still he's a respected character and he knows all of these religious things. Like, it's not at the expense
Well, he's one of
him.
the leaders.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of the leaders of what? The Northern tribe leader?
Something
I don't
like
know.
that, yeah.
But something like that. He was in that circle. He was allowed to talk, and he kept being like, Paul, kill me and take my place. And Paul was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Would you shatter your knife before battle? Such a good line.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was good.
And that was
good.
If I'm remembering right, that was taken directly from the book, as are a lot of the good lines. But as you should.
I'm sure. No.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a reason this book has stood out over time. A reason people tried to make it into a movie before.
Right.
And didn't people say that Dune was like,
it was
there was a word, but I can't think. Unfilmable. Yeah, that's it. I was going to say unmovieable. And I was like, no, definitely
can't make a movie with it. But I think they also said the same thing about Watchmen. And I don't think anything is unfilmable. You can do it all.
Well, now, back in the 80s, it definitely was unfilmable. Did you see the Dune film from
David
the 80s?
Finch tried. Fincher?
Get drunk and watch it. It's a fun time. Fincher, I think. Wait, I don't know.
I don't know. Finch, is that the bird? Whatever. It's not a good movie. It's really bad. I tried to watch it.
No.
It's so bad. The shields that they have in that movie. Oh god.
I think overall it was a very good idea to split this into two movies, unlike some other things that were split into two movies. But
a half a dozen other movies in the last year alone.
No. Most things don't need to be split up.
No,
but
this did.
And people were even complaining about the first Dune, saying, "Oh, it's half a movie." I even said that.
Yeah, and honestly,
I'm pretty sure I even said that earlier today. Yeah. But once you watch them both, you understand that the first movie, it's not half a movie; it's half a story. But it's not half a movie. It is its own full movie. It shows the fall of House Atreides.
Yeah.
That's what that movie is about. And that's not what Dune Part 2 is about. Dune Part 2 is all about Paul and
back on the rise of the House of Atreides.
Becoming, the small mouse or whatever.
Muad'Dib.
Muad'Dib. I like small mouse better. Kangaroo mouse. I prefer to call him Kangaroo Mouse. I just like that he chose it and he was like, yeah, you guys are making fun of me. I might as well lean into it. And then it just became like everybody in the world knows his name as Kangaroo Mouse.
For Muad'Dib.
Yeah, so that's what the second movie is all about. Paul, you know, stepping into his role as the white savior, as
into his
the prophet,
destiny.
as the voice from the outer or whatever. And I think the themes and like the message of this film is siding with Zendaya. I think it 100%. Is absolutely saying this is not the way to go. This is not what should be happening, and he's drunk on power. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, he's overthrowing the emperor for righteous and good reasons, but 20 years down the line, he's gonna be the same exact person that he's trying to overthrow. And that's just the cycle of power that I think Frank Herbert was just initially trying to tell with this whole Dune story. No matter if you know where you're going and your good intentions, you're gonna end up the same, which is depressing and nihilistic, but also it's fun to see.
Well, I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't think that he's saying that's where you have to end up. I'm saying he's saying that's where this will go because Paul is not doing it right. Because Paul shouldn't be leading this people anyway, because they're not his people. And he's I don't know, he took over. He went into their temple where they were like, hey, only the leaders can speak here. We don't want you to speak. Please don't speak. And then he spoke, and then he yelled at them all. And then he started screaming their futures at them. And I'm pretty sure it's saying, like, even if these it's not a prophecy, right? No. We know that it's not a prophecy because we know that the Bene Gesserit and Mama Jessica are the ones spreading these
for generations. They've been
starting these religions.
This story.
Exactly. It's not a prophecy. It is them. They set a plan and then they said, okay, we're going to make this happen. And we're going to start telling people that this is going to happen in the future. And there you have a prophecy.
Yeah, Paul even tries to explain that at a part where Jessica, took the worm blood. And then he's like saying, no, the Bene Gesserit have they have good control over their bodies. She's just pushing the poison out. And I love the moment where it went to Stilgar and he's talking to his other religious folk, and there he's like, but I mean, of course, the Lisan al-Gaib, he would never say that. It's as written. He has to be him.
He's too modest to say he's the prophet. Yeah.
I was laughing so hard during that, and I loved it. It was so on
very
point.
Funny. It was very funny, but also very accurate. Exactly. Nothing that he was going to say was going to change their mind.
No.
And how I don't know, devoted people can be to faith when that's all that they have. That is what, I mean, Florence Pugh said that in the movie. Like, I don't know names. They're just
the Princess Irulan.
Yeah, I don't think they ever said that name. That's a dumb name.
They definitely did it because it started out.
Oh, okay.
And in the books, I think all of the chapters end with a little excerpt from the Diary of Princess Irulan, and the movie started and it was like excerpt from the Diary of Princess Irulan.
No, I knew that she was saying diary entry, but I didn't hear her name. Okay, maybe maybe I heard that and I was like, that's the name of something else. That can't be her name. It's dumb.
But I was jumping up and down when they said that. I was like, oh, they said the thing. From the thing.
Wait, so the whole book is like told through her diary?
No, I think it's just at the end of every chapter, there's maybe a paragraph, and it's just like, this is from the diary, and it's usually just talking about what happened in the last paragraph from the perspective of the emperor or the emperor's daughter.
Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah. I don't know. Dune was a good movie, guys.
It was so freaking good. Before we transition to our next segment, I do have a couple questions, and these are mainly logistical, because how do you get off a worm? Do you just jump?
That's what I was thinking. Because I was like, they don't show all of these people they show one person getting on the worm, but they don't show them moving their entire society onto the worm. They don't show how they got Lady Jessica in that ridiculous carriage.
Like, how do you get a palanquin on one?
Onto the freaking worm, and how they never show how they get off. I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna jump into the sand?
Just dive.
Yeah, you'll die. It's not water. You'll die.
I don't know how you get off a worm, but
yeah. So, yeah, it seems like a logistical nightmare, honestly.
I don't know, but
it's like, oh, quick, throw the Queen Mother, throw her.
They have little
or whatever her name
stops where I don't know, they pull on the reins and they go, "Easy, girl," and the worm slows down. Oh
yeah, I'm sure the worms love that.
Well, speaking about that, why did I feel really bad for the little baby worm that was drowned? I was like, poor little guy.
Because it was a baby.
Yeah, because it was a little baby. It was creepy as hell. If that thing was around me, I would scream like a piglet.
Yeah, I didn't feel bad because it was wrapped around her like a snake, and I was like, oh, okay, get rid of that. I don't like it.
It was like the snake from The Boys, if you know what I'm talking about.
The snake from the... Oh, God! Why would you mention that? Stop it!
That's what it looked like.
I'm shutting my eyes. I can't even look at you anymore. That's disgusting. Okay.
All right, last note.
Move on!
What was Florence Pugh wearing on her face? There was one scene...
I know, knives?
No, before then, because that didn't look that weird. But she had, like... It looked like Gambit's mask, where it was, like, covering her cheeks and her forehead, and only... her eyes and her mouth were showing. You got a confused look on your face. I
don't know which outfit you're talking about.
The outfit's even in the trailer, or one of them.
Well, I'm thinking of the knife one where she was wearing knives across her face.
That one was
chainmail.
cool.
Is that it?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it was the one
you're not
before
talking about that.
Yeah, but it was a weird look.
She looked like she looked like a paladin or something.
Yes. Oh, before I forget, I also have one more note, and then we can move on, because 5 or 6 times in the movie, the scene would transition from the dark caves of the underground to the really harsh lighting above ground, and it would hurt my eyes. And that's maybe the one negative that I had for the whole movie.
That never affected me. I never thought of that. But as far as visuals go, the visuals were incredible. Yeah. But there was this whole sequence in the
black and white
whatever they're called,
Harkonnen.
Habersburger. Oh no, okay, Harkonnen. The Harkonnen.
Habersburger's town.
Hampton, I don't know. The Harkonnen hubbub, their planet, right?
Where they had the black sun.
It was all black and white. And that was so cool. And at first I was like, whoa, is there just like no color in this? At first I was like, okay, they shot it in black and white. And then I was like, wait a second. Did they just have no color in the set and paint everybody white and have a whole black and white set? Because that would have been really cool. But then once the other people came out, I realized they didn't paint everybody white. Because wouldn't it have been so cool if they were all white and then the House Atreides people came out and they were just like normal looking?
That would have
with
been
their normal
really
colored
cool.
skin.
Yeah.
And then all the other people were covered in white paint, and you realize that it's not filmed in black and white, and that these people were just they all look like that.
That would have been so cool.
Denis Villeneuve, hire me. Hire me.
Oh, and it
that
would have
really
made
cool.
Fade Ralph stand out that much more in the fight scene.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I still liked that whole concept of
it was great though.
Like they would
really
be
cool all
in shadows and you could see more texture on them and more detail and just more shadow, and then they'd step out into their sunlight or their version of sunlight and it would immediately just harsh lighting and you couldn't see any detail on them. So cool. Loved it all. And they're
very well done movie language.
The ink fireworks. Before I forget to mention
those
were really cool.
Those were cool. Yeah.
And all of the effects, the way that people floated, it all worked. It was cool. Made my skin crawl, just goosebumps throughout the whole movie. It's cool. It's like taking drugs, but better. Just watch this movie.
How many drugs have you taken?
Not enough.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it. Okay. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really fun time. I literally just saw it, so I haven't had time to ruminate on it too much.
I'm trying to think of anything more like deep to talk about. I thought that the relationship could have been better between Chani and Paul, but that also could be my own bias because they have a better relationship in the books, in my opinion.
Well, they had a lot of chemistry, and I was really grateful of the decision to just like skip 9 months for them to be like, okay, we're not gonna show all of his training and all of these battles and stuff. And I was like, good, because that would have been boring. It would have taken forever. And they were just like, they're a couple now, and I was like, okay, I'm down. I didn't need a time card, like a title card. I didn't need them to. It's you know what other script writers, take notes, okay?
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, we've been together for 9 months. Haven't you learned this by now? Blah, blah, blah. Don't say that in your script.
These past
it's
9
awful,
months have
okay?
been great.
Ugh, fuck you.
We don't need the
like,
exposition.
I hate those. It's very clear. It's very clear in the filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told me that they skipped 9 months or 8 months or whatever, but the relationships are different.
Time went
and
by.
The woman is more pregnant, and they're closer, and there's, you know, they call him by a different name now, the name that he had gotten, and it's just it's fluid, and it's like life, and it's well written. This was a very well written movie.
Yes, it flowed so well. There was no exposition that felt forced at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just every bit of world building in Dune has always been fantastic. I mean, Denis Villeneuve is really good at just writing what is necessary while also making you tear up from how heartfelt it is. I don't know how he toes the line, but he does it.
He's a very good filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
But he's apparently said some weird things about television and theater. So,
oh no.
So, but he's really good at making movies.
Yeah, he's one of the best in my opinion. But I can't think of too much else to say about Dune Part 2. Definitely watch it in theaters if you haven't. Watch it on the biggest screen possible.
It's definitely a theater movie.
Yep, it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, let's move on to the consumption corner, where we're just starved for content. Sasha, are you starved for content? I don't know. What
am I? I'm pretty full at the moment.
Yeah.
I've been I haven't watched much this week, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I've spent most of the week reading. I finished up one of the books that I was reading, and then I started 2 more, so I've been pretty involved in that. I've mentioned the other books that I started before, but this one, another one that I started is called Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first book in her, I believe it's her first adult fantasy duology.
Right.
I really, really love Leigh Bardugo's YA duology, Six of Crows.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody ever has any desire to read that, let me give you the log line right now. It's Ocean's 11, but with magic.
Okay.
It's amazing. It's one of my favorite book series. I love it. It's incredible. And it takes place in, there was a show, Shadow and Bone.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. So it takes place in that universe.
Right.
But it has nothing to do with it, with the book series Shadow and Bone. The show kind of mingled them all together. It's dumb. Anyway, I'm reading Leigh Bardugo's new duology.
Mm-hmm.
Very excited about it.
Okay. Well, I think I may have even said that I finished it in an earlier episode, which I lied about that. But I finally finished Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and it is incredible. I really loved it.
I don't think you said you finished it. You said you started
okay,
it. So that's good.
Awesome. But yeah.
Good that you had follow through.
I finally finished something. No. But I will say, no spoilers, but it ends on a cliffhanger. So please, God, let there be a second season. please.
Okay.
Please.
I'm going to watch it now that all the episodes are out. I'm very excited.
It's really good. Like the conclusion to it, I was worried that it wouldn't come to a point enough, but it really does a good job of just letting the characters come to, just a complete arc. And I really liked watching it.
Cool.
But other than that, there's one other thing that I've been reading. But before I get to that, anything that you've been watching?
No. I haven't been watching anything this week.
Well,
I've been reading a lot.
Well, then we can close out. But before I close out, I'll say that I have been reading a bunch of the Immortal Hulk, which is just a comic series, really, really good. But it's just Hulk on the run, and he's going through his psyche about who is the Hulk and all that. I will mention there's one issue where it's told from 3 different perspectives, and every perspective has a different art style. Really, really cool.
That's cool. Wait, what do you mean different perspectives? Like from within the Hulk, or from different people?
So it's like a cop talking to 3 different people about what they saw when the Hulk barged in on a place. One has like a 70s art, one has like a really realism, and then one is like an almost anime style where it's like Aeon Flux looking. That's good.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, could not recommend that comic more.
Nice.
Nice. With that, this has been a worm riding podcast. Will we ever get off? No, we're stuck on it.